Good morning, teachers and students. I am Seshi Kwame, a mathematics enthusiast and a teacher of Michel Camtu JHS in the Pung Katamansu Municipal. Today, I want us to make meaning of one mathematical concept that we teach our students. I remember some years back, I was taught using a song, Nege Nege Po, Nege Po Nege, Po Nege Nege. Poor, poor, poor. And this song is used to multiply two negative numbers or two positive numbers, or one number being negative and the other being positive. And I want us to make meaning out of it. And why is it so? Why is it that when you multiply two negative numbers or you divide two negative numbers, the result is positive? Why is it that when you multiply one negative number by a positive number, your answer will be negative? I would want us to practically make meaning out of this. So let's journey as we make meaning out of this. First, we would have to comprehend that if you have 3 times 2, it can be seen as adding 3 groups of 2, right? Adding 3 groups of 2, so 2 plus 2 plus 2. Or it can be seen as adding 2 groups of 3, 3 plus 3. And this will produce 6, as well as 3 plus 3 will also produce 6. So either I see it as adding 2 groups of 3 or adding 3 groups of 2. So if we take the next example, which is 3 times negative 2, we can see this as adding 3 groups of negative 2. So adding 3 groups of negative 2. Adding 3 groups of negative 2. Or we can see this also as subtracting 2 groups of 3. You see, negative 2. If 2 means you are adding groups of 3, then negative means you are subtracting groups of 3. That is the clear distinction here. So whilst 2 or a positive number here simply means you are adding the groups of the first one, that's adding 2 groups of 3 or adding 3 groups of 2. The negative would also mean you are subtracting the number of groups, right? So this means you are subtracting 2 groups of 3. So that should be negative 3 minus 3. And this would produce negative 6. In our previous lesson, we have studied that if it is positive and negative in between 2 and 2, it's going to be negative. And this will also give an answer of negative 6. So if you watch whatever we are multiplying here, one of the sign is positive, one of the sign is negative. So positive 3 times negative 2. And the result is giving out a negative answer, which is negative 6. So this is where we can abstract or we can extract that if you are multiplying 2 numbers and one is negative and the other is positive, your answer will become negative. So let's take the next one where we have negative 3 times negative 2. So with this, we are looking at subtracting 2 groups of negative 3. Subtracting 2 groups of negative 3. So I have negative 3 and negative 3. I am subtracting them. So in that case, my result is going to be 3 plus 3, because we have learned that if you have 2 negatives in between numbers or in front of numbers, it should result in a positive. We have done that intuitively in our previous lesson. So this gives us 3 plus 3, which is 6. So you realize that when the two numbers were negative and were multiplying, our result became a positive number. So you can also get the idea from this. The next proof that we can also use can be multiplying numbers. See, if you have 3 times 4, it's 12. If you have 3 times 3, it's 9. If you have 3 times 2, it's 6. If you have 3 times 1, it's 3. If you have 3 times 0, it's 0. So you realize that we are multiplying numbers which are reducing by 1 by 3. And realize that when we were multiplying numbers which are reducing by 1 with 3, multiplying with 3, we realize that what is happening here is that while these numbers are reducing by 1, the result is also reducing by 3. So 12 minus 3 should produce 9. 9 minus 3 should produce 6. 6 minus 3 should produce 3. 3 minus 3 should produce 0. So if I reduce 0 by 1, I'm going to have negative 1. And it means the previous answer should also reduce by 3. So if you're reducing 0 by 3, it should be negative 3. If I multiply this by -2, I'm going to reduce -3 by 3, that will be negative 6. If I reduce -2 by 1, I'm going to have negative 3. And that will mean I reduce the answer, which is -6, also by 3, and that will be negative 9. So we realize that these two numbers we are multiplying, one is negative, and our answers are all becoming negative, right? So that is where we can conclude that multiplying two numbers where one is negative, the results would automatically become negative. So we can take another one where we have negative 3 times 4. You know our answer will be negative 12. Negative 3 times 3, our answer will be negative 9. Negative 3 times 2, our answer will be negative 6. Negative 3 times 1, our answer will be negative 3. Negative 3 times 0, our answer will be 0. So if you watch here, when we reduce the number by 1, our result, if you watch, is increasing by 3. Because next 12 plus 3 is next 9. Next 9 plus 3 is next 6. Next 6 plus 3 is next 3. Next 3 plus 3 is 0. So it means that if I reduce 0 by 1 to have negative 1, my 0, which is the preceding answer, will also increase by 3. So if 0 increases by 3, the answer is 3. If I reduce this also by 1, my result will also increase by 3 again. If I reduce that also by 1, my result will increase by 3. If I reduce the next 3 by 1, my result will also increase by 3. So you see that whereas all of these two numbers are negative numbers and we are multiplying, our answers are all positive answers. So you can conclude that if you multiply two negative numbers, your result will be positive. But I believe that if we use this to teach our learners, they will be able to appreciate why the products of two negative numbers is positive and why the products of two numbers of which the operational signs or the directed signs in front are different is going to be negative, like negative 3 times 4 or 4 times negative 3 or 4 times 3 would always result in a negative number. They will be able to appreciate this better than the song of nege nege po nege po nege po nege nege po po po. We can bring the song in to complement the concept of multiplication of integers. But then we have to build a concept before we bring in the song, and that will let them appreciate the mathematics of multiplication of integers. Have a nice day. Bye bye.